For as long as I can remember, there have been various pundits claiming that we're on the verge of a new age of spiritual enlightenment, maybe. I think Eckhart Tolle is one of the more recent offenders with his book The New Earth, or something like that. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember the Age of Aquarius, which was going to be a wonderful new age. Doesn't seem to have happened, does it? There's a reason why basically nothing is going to change. Sounds an awfully pessimistic thing to say, but it isn't if you really understand the nature of the situation. We forever look for external things. We look for maybe a new political regime, a new spiritual movement, something out there that is going to change everything, because most of us are fairly cognizant of the amount of suffering in the world and the so-called injustices. And right now things seem to be getting worse rather than better. Of course, this takes an extreme form in the Christian idea of the second coming of Christ, where all the good people will be taken up to heaven and all the rest of us go and burn in hell. Well, who knows? It might happen, but I personally don't give a lot of credence to that. So, we're looking in the wrong place, looking out there, because there actually is nothing out there that's going to change. The sun will rise every day for as long as you and I are around. People will be exploitative of other people for as long as you and I live, and so on. All the things that we would like to see change. A fairer political system, more tolerance, greater or more equitable distribution of wealth, and all those kind of things are not going to happen. So please don't think that we're on the verge of some new age. We are not. And I'll go into why that's the case right now. We need to understand the nature of existence. Every creature that exists has a totally unquenchable thirst for existence. It wants to continue in its existence. That applies as much to an ant as it does to a human being. If you threaten an ant, it will scurry away in an attempt to avoid danger and possible death. Same thing with human beings. This will to live, as Schopenhauer called it, is the primary drive in all creatures, including man, and we will do almost anything to ensure that we continue in our survival at an individual level and also at a group level. That's why we have wars between nations and so on. This will to live was well understood by Spinoza too. He said, the very essence of man is desire, the desire to persist in his existence. That is the essence of what you and I are. We might try and put all kinds of fancy wrapping around it, but when it comes down to it, we may do some fairly unspeakable things if it means that we continue with our existence. Now, this desire for existence is not a passive kind of thing. It means that people are desperate for more experience. They want more of life. They want to visit more places. They want to acquire more stuff. They want more money. They want more power, because all these things enhance their power in life. And that is what most of us are after. Personally, I'm not really after all that. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, as they say, and found it all totally Well, boring. Boring and unsatisfying. But most people go after that. People who've got $1 billion want $10 billion. People who employ 500 people want to employ 5,000 people just because of the power it gives them. It's endless, and you see it in the animal world. You see animals sparring for mating rights. You see them encroaching on each other's territory. Chimpanzees are dreadful creatures. They will invade a neighbouring territory and kill a lot of the chimps in a neighbouring environment, and the way they kill them is fairly unpleasant. This is nature. Now, nature has its own aims. Nature wants diversity and proliferation. Nature has no interest in the individual creature. It just wants more and more experience, more and more life, and it really doesn't matter how that's achieved as far as nature is concerned. So let me just quote a few things from Schopenhauer, because Schopenhauer, of all people, understood this very, very well. In fact, his main work, which is called The World as Will and Representation. The world as will, this drive for survival. So, he says, as long as our will is the same, our world cannot be other than it is. I'll repeat that. As long as our will is the same, our world cannot be other than it is. Well, our will is the will to live. And this will to live means that we kill animals to eat them. Most people, if they see an animal slaughtered, are fairly repulsed by it. But they stick it to the back of their mind so that that reality is not in front of them when they consume the next juicy steak or have some nice pork sausages. So as long as this will is the same, this will to live, nothing is going to change for humanity as a whole. So the notions of I'm sorry to laugh, it makes me feel, I guess it must make me seem very cynical, but as long as we have this drive for survival, which we do have, nothing's going to change. There will be no spiritual revolution, there will be no economic revolution, no political revolutions that deliver anything useful to the mass of people. Because people are all driven by this will for survival. And as a species we're unique in that we can identify with concepts. So we identify with the notion of the United States, or the notion of Christianity, or Islam, or Buddhism. And these identifications, and we in some way transfer our very existence, our very power for survival onto these things. As long as we're doing this, and as long as we're driven by the will to survive, nothing is going to change. I'm sorry, Eckhart Tolle, but there is not a new earth. I suppose it's a good title for a book. People are forever hopeful that something out there is going to change, or that there's some inner work going on within mankind that's going to cause it to change. You only have to look at the rules of the game. Creatures exist by inflicting pain and suffering on other creatures in the main. That's how it works. Of course, men assume power and magnify their will to live by assuming power, money, position, authority, all those kind of things that mean that the mass of people are subjugated in some kind of way. And if you took an ordinary man in the street, somebody who was saying, well, it's not right that the bankers should do what they do, and it's not right that the political elite should be as corrupt as they are, and so on and so forth. Put any man in the street in the position of one of those people, and he will do exactly the same. 99 times out of 100 anyway. Now, Gurdjieff had something to say about this. He said that nature requires that the masses of people live like animals, that they are driven by their passions and their emotions, totally identified with their state, as animals are. You know, when an animal is happy, it is that happiness. When an animal is fearful, it is the fear. And that is the way it is with most people, driven by their passions and emotions. So nature requires that human beings live like animals for, according to Gurdjieff anyway, various cosmic processes. I don't know if that's true or not. What I do know is true, that most people do indeed live like animals. They are primarily driven by this will to live, and will do anything to guarantee that they continue their existence. He says that liberation and understanding are for the few. In fact, he even goes as far as to say that when the masses of people become stupid, you know, the number of people I know who spend half their day on Facebook trying to get likes, or on YouTube even trying to get likes, and looking at little memes that say things like, if you want to be happy, make other people happy. Well, you know, they look at that and they titillate their ego by thinking, yes, I'm going to make somebody happy and I will become happy. And 2 minutes later they've forgotten it. So the masses of humanity are in this deep sleep, and they're lost in truth. It's a very sad situation in reality. And they turn their back on any wisdom or knowledge that might be available. As far as Gurdjieff is concerned, this means that this knowledge is available for those who are seeking it in greater quantities. He considered knowledge to be a material quantity. Again, I don't know if that's true, but there's a certain ring of truth to the whole thing. So liberation is for those who have a look around, are not fooled by external what? The hope that things will change on their own, because they're not going to. And know that the only change that they can bring about is change within themselves. So this change within oneself requires work. It doesn't happen on its own. And so we have to go into our animal nature to see it in all its glory. The hatred, the envy, the derision, the lust for power, the need to put other people down so that we feel good. All of those kind of things that human beings do. And above all, spiritual people. If you've been a member of any kind of spiritual movement, then you will know that the envy and jealousy and all those kind of things are more prevalent in those kind of groups than they are anywhere else. And if you can hear a noise in the background, I'm sorry about that, but we're having some work done on our property today. So we need to do this very difficult and painful work of looking into our real nature. This drive for survival, this need to keep going at any cost. And what we do, both to ourselves and other people, to make ourselves feel more powerful. And the whole thing is about power at the end of the day. So this work is only attractive to a very, very small number of people. Most people are looking for somebody else to do the work. You know, maybe they're looking for Eckhart Tolle to do the work and to usher in a new earth. It's not going to happen. So in summary, before that drilling noise drives me insane, the bottom line is this, that nothing out there is going to change. The only thing that can change is your own self, and you achieve that through work. There are no free lunches.